All right. Hello again. It's Victoria. We are continuing to talk about our new neural pathways that we're making during this time. Just wanted to quickly review that with you all as we begin. We started this little series 2 days ago, and I'm not exactly sure how long the series is going to be, but at least a few more days, because I'm going to each day at least touch on one of our aspects of our gingerbread whole person experience. And hi, Tracy. I can see you all a little bit better. I moved my camera closer so that I could see who's on. So today we are going to talk a little bit about the aspect of our emotional body or our emotional self, and we're also going to talk about the physical body. So I'm going to combine those two a little bit today and how that relates to our making of these new neural pathways. So just as that quick review, the neural pathways are those roads in your brain. And like I said, there's a lot of things that are hardwired in, so we don't have to remind ourselves to breathe or to have our heart beat, but we have a ton of aspects of ourselves that we can actually change the way that our brain sends messages. So that excites me, as you all know, and I think that the body is just such an amazing vehicle that we have. It's really fascinating to me. So I brought back out some of the paintings that we saw on 2 days ago. I can't even remember what day it is. I think that was Thursday. So this was the one that inspired this whole talk and series. And this one is the one that is all about making new neural pathways. And that's really what I call this one. And this was that picture in my head that came into fruition of what it looks like right now, the way that I perceive it at least, as we are all in this time and space where we really are having the opportunity and the experience of making new neural pathways, because nothing is the same. No matter what your life looks like right now, it's definitely not the same that it was a few weeks ago. And I have a small group that I was sharing some of this with too, and yesterday it really became very clear to me to also share that it's not that you aren't constantly shifting and changing, because you are. It's just that when we have these more defined moments or time periods that we really notice the changes happening. But if you can connect with the physical body for a moment with me, and that's going to be one of the parts that we talk about today. If you can connect with your physical body and realize that your physical cells are actually changing all the time. I know there's a lot of different information out there, but the thing that I've seen most often is that every 7 years you have an entirely new body. And so that's the one I usually, state, but that may not be exactly right. I know that different organs in your body change at different rates, the cells do. But I want you to kind of grab that for a moment, that the cells of your body are always shifting and changing. You're getting new ones all the time. And so that to me is one of the reasons why when we make a really concentrated intention and effort to place our focus on changing in a way that we would enjoy, then we can see some really cool things happen. And I know when we talk about the body aspect of this, I know a lot of you that are watching are also really skilled in some of the ways that the body can be transformed. And that's something that's been always truly amazing to me because of being involved in dance and in movement arts and yoga. The body really does transform when we use it, and can even begin to be used in ways that we couldn't even imagine. So I'll go back to that in a little bit. This was the other painting that I brought out the other day, and I just wanted to kind of mention that one again, This one, I realized I never really explained what I meant by this one when I rewatched the video on Thursday. This one was open your receptors. And so that's what you're doing right now. If you're choosing to watch this with me or later, or many of the things that you're choosing to do right now, opening your receptors, opening yourself to maybe have a new perspective on things, or to be reminded of a perspective that you once knew about. So today we're going to talk about the emotional self a little bit first, and then we're going to go to the physical body. So again, our gingerbread is back. He's a little worse for the wear right now. He's starting to get a little bit of his body erased out. But I'm going to erase our entire gingerbread in a moment. So we're going to talk about the emotional body first. I put that at the heart. And one of the reasons I put it at the heart is because that's how we talk about it as humans a lot of times, at least in our American culture. We say things like, I've got something, that's heavy on my heart. Or I even used the word earlier today, lighthearted. I will talk about feeling lighthearted, right? So we connect our emotions a lot of times with our heart. I'm going to erase our gingerbread. She's going to go away. Maybe we'll bring her back at the end. And we're going to talk a little bit about the way that I see emotions and feelings, which I mentioned briefly on Thursday. So let's see how this color goes. Oh, good. All right, these are waves. And then underneath, we are going to make the current. Let's add that with some darker, deeper blue too. Okay. So, the waves were the feelings. So when I talk about your emotional self, your emotional aspect, the waves are the feelings. These are the things that we have all day long, from the moment your eyes pop open to the moment your eyes close. And even I dream a ton. You could probably imagine that. I dream a lot, and sometimes I'll wake up out of a dream and have a feeling. So I'm not even sure. I think my feelings probably go all through 24 hours a day for me. So the feelings come in and out. These do not, for me, and I don't even believe for any of us, the feelings themselves don't define our day. The emotional undercurrent is the way that I see our emotional state. That's what I kind of have termed it. And I'm going to draw a few different emotional states, categories that we can fall into. So this talk today, part of it is really talking about how we can shift the emotional state more consciously, okay? So if I recognize the feelings come in and out all day, that's where I could use that mindfulness that we talked about yesterday, where I just see those feelings like clouds floating by. The feelings come and go. I don't have to attach to them. I can just observe them. They give me information all the time, actually, to help me make better choices when I'm able to see it that clearly. However, I have also done a lot of, I don't even like the word work anymore, but playing with, let's say that. I've done a lot of playing with looking at the feelings that come up for me and allowing certain things to move out after I've identified them, after I've said, yes, okay, that sucks. That doesn't feel good right now. Do I want to dwell on it? No. What can I put my focus on? Then we start to develop certain emotional states. Now, sometimes, and I'm going to put these in the other blue, sometimes these emotional states, though, when we maybe are not doing things as consciously as what I'm talking about, pre-conscious living, we develop these emotional states more out of the patterns that we got when we were kids, teens, and when we've had some difficulties or even traumas in our life. Those also can create little pockets of emotion that stay with us and start to develop more of an emotional state. Now, of course, if you have some of those things that keep coming up, I always recommend connecting with someone, talking with someone that can help you therapeutically, because it can be really, really valuable. And I've done that for myself, and I've also been that person for other people as well. But there's a lot of things you can do for yourself too to just enrich your life and maybe be more aware of your general emotional state and shift it. So one of our emotional states, I'm going to put a common one, and maybe one that's being experienced a lot right now. You may not be able to see this tiny writing, I don't know. Anxious worry, okay? That can be one emotional state. Another emotional state could be sad, and even maybe a little bit deeper, depressed. Another emotional state could be, and this is when I started writing about a few years ago, because I started noticing it was really common, or maybe even becoming more common in my awareness, anger, and maybe a lighter version of that might be frustration, but that you're like always feeling that way. And I'm going to put with that hurt, because to me, anger comes out of feeling hurt, and hurt gets kind of stuck and stayed there. Now, obviously, those don't sound like a whole lot of fun to be sitting in all the time. So what is the other one that maybe we'd like to move towards more often? Joy, peace. Another word I like to use is like content. Maybe peace doesn't resonate with you, but content to me just is kind of like everything feels like it's going to be okay, even if what I'm seeing right now might feel sad or frustrating or worrisome. Okay, so here's the difference. The emotional current, right, the emotional state could be pulling you in a direction, even though you're not aware of it, even though you have feelings throughout the day. So let's take the anxious, worried emotional state. Sometimes when people have been living that way for a long time, they actually function really well coping with that, and it kind of runs under the surface. But they still feel happy, they still feel excited about things, they still might feel passionate about things, they still feel sad about things. So the feelings themselves are just, to me, part of just being human. I have the same feelings everybody else has. Just doing more yoga and meditating doesn't make me not have feelings. What shifted is what I call my emotional state. So I talk about anxious and worry first, because years ago, that's, as you heard yesterday, that was what started shifting for me when I started practicing more mindful living, conscious living, yoga and meditation. The anxiety started shifting because I was doing something consciously to actually teach, and here's where the physical body starts coming in. I was doing something consciously that involved my mind and my physical body. And I started getting an experience in my physical body of what it felt like to come down a notch in my nervous system. For me, just because of the way that I was at that time, that was like probably one of the first times I felt that nervous system come down a notch, except for when I was a little kid, when I thought I was Wonder Woman. That's a story for another day, probably. Some of you have heard it already. So what I was doing with my mind and my body was starting to retrain my nervous system. Now, I still had a long way to go. However, it caused me to start to release, or be able to release, a lot of the worry and anxiety that was daily thoughts in my head. And I began retraining my new neural pathways, right? Making new neural pathways. So another one that personally for me, I don't lean this direction all that often. However, I know for some that they do, where sadness and depression can be more of the general emotional state. And again, it's not that they aren't happy at times. It's not that they aren't enjoying their lives. But there's this underlying thing that's still running. And so being able to allow those feelings and emotions to come up so we can look at them, process through them, like I said, get assistance if we need to, and move into more of a joy and peace is really powerful. And then our last one here before we get to joy and peace, like I said, anger and frustration, when people seem to be that like ticking time bomb, right? Just on the surface, everything seems to ignite them. There's usually some just deep hurts that are there. One of the statements that I've used a lot when I teach people is hurt people. So sometimes when we're deeply hurt and we don't know how to move through that, it does turn into anger. And that anger can come outward for some, and other people you won't see it goes inward. So maybe the anger frustration is more of an internal thing for some people. So I just want to note that as well. So these are general emotional states that a lot of people are living in. And I guess what I'm saying with this is there are things that you can actually do even right now as maybe some of these feelings are coming up for you. And some of them may be feelings that you don't normally have. I mean, maybe you're not normally an angry, frustrated person, but with all the changes going on, that's rising up for you. So I'm going to give you some ways to move through that a little bit without bypassing it. And I think that's kind of a popular term these days. I was laughing because I was telling someone yesterday, one of my students, I was like, I don't think I really got that idea of spiritual bypassing. I didn't really know what people were talking about, but sometimes it takes me a while to get like the trendy concepts that are out there, and I like to really process things. So to me, what I'm understanding with that really is that idea of just pretending, like a Pollyanna is what I call it. If your name is Polly, I'm so sorry that I said that way. Pollyanna was a term that I heard when I was like a kid or a teen, of somebody who just thought the world was always rosy and didn't see the other things that were going on too. So I don't want it to come across as that we're going to ignore our feelings, because that's not useful. They don't go anywhere, by the way. I certainly became very adept personally in my life in putting things over into a box and wrapping it up really tightly and not looking at those things. I also want to point out that if that is an experience that you've had, there's great purpose for that, because sometimes it's not the time to look at certain things. You don't feel comfortable yet. You don't feel safe enough or secure enough to do that. When the time is right, that lid comes off a bit and then you can address it. So it's not that we have to like sit and look for things inside of ourselves. They will come up when they're ready. And everything you did prior to that was perfect, because there's a lot of things that we do to really strategically cope with things so that we can enjoy our lives as humans. So your mind helps you with that, and I think that's an amazing, amazing thing. And it actually trains your body to do certain things so that you can function more I don't know what to say, just more successfully. That's what I want to say, in your life. So as you can see, this emotional part of yourself, to me, has these two parts: the feelings you get all day, and then your general emotional state. So for me, eventually, I moved from the anxious worry as my general emotional state, still feeling all that other stuff too, over to I really, truly, at this time in my life, generally feel joyful, peaceful, and content. So now when I have certain feelings come up, I go, oh, that's really interesting. What's that about? And, sometimes it's really clear, and other times I just realize that I'm just kind of stressed picking up on the other things around me, and I look at it and I let it go. So I'm going to put this over here for now. I brought this other painting out for us today too. So for me, this is one of the things that I use as a visual as well. So this is a painting that I did that represents St. Lucia, actually a trip that I took last year, I think, with my partner. And I really, really love to visualize putting myself in a space where I can feel completely at ease and relaxed in order for things to come up if they need to. And I think that that's the power of visualization sometimes, to put ourselves in that space when maybe we can't go there. So for me right now, I certainly cannot hop on a plane and go to St. Lucia at the moment. And not that I would have to go to St. Lucia to feel like this, because there's so many beautiful places right around us, but even most of those places are unavailable to me right now. So one of the things that I do to put myself into a space, and I'm gonna do, if you would like to join me in this, a little bit of a guided meditation with you, a visualization. I'm gonna call it a visualization because that's really more what we're doing. I have a lovely bug joining me. So we are going to visualize, if you like, and you can close your eyes, but you don't have to. You can be seated or lying down, doesn't matter. I can't see you anyways, so. And you're just gonna allow yourself to follow your breath for a moment. So we're just gonna inhale in and exhale out. And I use that wave kind of breath from yoga. It's an Ujjayi breath. So inhaling in and exhaling out. And one more time, inhale in and exhale out. And then you're just going to allow yourself to imagine in your mind, your mind's eye, a place that you find yourself to be content, peaceful, even joyful. And we're going to begin to see what that place looks like. So let the image come up first. And then begin in your mind to tell yourself what you see with your inner eyes. What are the surroundings? Are there elements of nature? Are there any other people there? Or animals? What colors are there? Now you're going to allow yourself to notice whatever you might hear there. So in this amazing spot and place, what is it that you hear? Could be nature sounds, could just be the simple breathing of you, or maybe someone with you. Then you're going to notice any smells that you might smell. So in this amazing, beautiful place that you are creating in your mind, what are you smelling? Now you're going to imagine anything that you feel, like physical sensations. So are you sitting somewhere where you can dig your toes in the sand? Or is there a breeze? What temperature is the air? And are there any things that you can taste right now? So maybe in your space you have something delicious that you love, and what would that taste like on your tongue? And now that you have this beautiful visualization that you've created, just feel how that feels for you right now. And if there's any other feelings that come up, we're just going to notice them like clouds going by in the sky. You can watch them from this lifted place, just experiencing with your whole body and nervous system what it is to be in a place of content, joy, and peace. I'm going to let you sit there for just a few moments while I'm silent. And then taking a moment again to feel your breath, maybe even stretch your arms if you're seated or lying down. Take a big exhale out. And you can return to your space that you're in right now as you're ready. And I took you through that fairly quickly, but I wanted to give you the experience of what it feels like to emotionally come down a notch. And you may have to watch that again. Of course, I know not everybody's watching this live. So you could always rewind and do it again, or turn me off and do it on your own. When we're able to remind our physical body what it feels like to be in a calmer space, then a lot of times we're able to begin retraining the mind and the body to know what it is to feel peaceful, to feel joyful, to feel content. And you don't even have to have had like a difficult life to get into a space of feeling just that underlying stress a lot of times. Because we do live in a culture where it's very promoted to kind of be going. And so during this time, like I said, a lot of us have had big shifts in how that looks. And some people are feeling more stressed. Some people are feeling less stressed right now. Everybody's kind of across the board different because we're all having our own experiences with the big changes going on around us. And it's this opportunity for us to take a look at that and look internal and see what we would like to create coming out of this. So maybe you've not looked at your general emotional state before or ever had anybody even talk to you about that before. So this now is maybe an opportunity to look and say, okay, could I put in some of these little tools that we've talked about along the way to just even live life a little more thriving, both now as well as going forward. I believe we're constantly evolving and changing and growing. And I saw a cool, I think it was Henry David Thoreau quote today that said, things don't change, we do. I think that was what it was. And I thought that was pretty profound, because I've been thinking about all these things that are changing. But the reality is, like I said earlier, everything's changing all the time. We're just more aware of it. And now we are shifting and changing, maybe, if we choose to, along with it. So, emotional self. The last thing I wanted to talk a little bit about with you today is the physical body and how powerful that can be as well. So I don't have my gingerbread up there right now. But the physical body, we had put in that brown color because the physical body, to me, is that vehicle for us here on planet Earth. And there's another quote, might be by C.S. Lewis, I can't remember, that is something to the effect of we're spiritual beings having a physical experience. I may not have that exactly right because I'm doing things off the top of my head, but so we have the physical aspect of ourselves. And you heard me say yesterday that the way I came into a lot of this stuff was first through the physical aspect. And we can use our physical bodies to retrain and make new neural pathways, okay? So your physical body is very important. And some of the ways that you can do that is by doing new things repetitively. This is why when we follow programs, like a lot of programs that are out now, you'll see that it'll be like 21 days, 30 days, 40 days. We want to pick something and do it repetitively. But what I want to caution against is something that I think we do a lot of times when we're wanting to make new body habits. We go like full force. And I say this generally, we're kind of trained into this in our culture and population. We go full force, and then we get tired or hurt, and then maybe we don't come back to it for 7 days or 7 months even. So there's a great statement that I've been using for myself lately that's from my mentor, Mary Maynard, up in Cleveland. And let me see if I can get this one right. Just do massively imperfect action, or just take massively imperfect action. And I love that, which is how I'm even doing these with you all, because I was like, oh, whatever, I'm just going to try it, right? Just throw some stuff out there and see what happens. And I'm getting a chance to share things that I really love to talk about to all of you that are watching now and then later. So taking massively imperfect action doesn't mean that you're going to all of a sudden run 10 miles tomorrow or start a yoga practice and you can, stand on your hands. That's not what we're talking about. Retraining your brain can be done with simply doing the same movement on both sides every day for 21 days. So let's say you want to take, and I'll just do this seated, since otherwise you won't be able to see me. Let's say you're going to do a standing half moon. So pretend I'm standing. I'm going to put my arms up. I'm going to lean myself to the side. I'm going to hold it and breathe 5 breaths. I'm going to come back to center. I'm going to go to the other side. I'm going to hold it and breathe for 5 breaths. Back to center, hands to heart. Super simple. You can engage your core muscles with that. You can engage your legs with that. You can drop your shoulders down. You can stretch the side body with that. You just did a ton of great things for your body that you might not have never done by, a minute worth of movement. So when you think about retraining the physical body, think about really starting from just maybe even small movements every day. Consistency is huge. And also, I would say pick something you enjoy, because for me, as you know, I absolutely adore yoga. I've been practicing it for so many years, the asana, the physical postures. I adore dancing. I've been doing that my entire life. I'm still dancing at almost 46 years old, which I think is amazing to me. I'm so thrilled with that. It makes me so happy. At other times in my life, I have run for many, many years. I ran marathons and 5Ks and 10Ks and 15Ks. Really adored that. It's not great on my hips right now, so right now I walk most of the time. So pick something you enjoy. Don't pick something that, your kids enjoy and you're going to try to make yourself do it with them. That's probably not going to bring consistency, and you're probably not going to consciously rebuild those new neural pathways. So we want to choose something that feels good to us, at least sounds good to us. You may have parts of that you're like, okay, right now this doesn't feel good. And of course, if you're in pain, stop. You all know that, but I feel I better say that since this is on video. So retraining the body can be as simple as adding in a couple of lengthening stretches every day. Maybe strength isn't what you want to build. Maybe you want to build lengthening. So think about your body and what your body wants. And the way that you can do that is by asking it. So the last thing that I want to talk about with our physical bodies is connecting with the physical body. And that's why I went ahead and just drew the physical body back up here for you. There are a lot of spiritual practices that focus a lot on building our spiritual connection, which is, of course, very, very important. Remember, that was that intuitive part of ourself. That's that true self part of ourself. It doesn't mean, though, that the body is less important. It's all working together. So some of you may come into shifts and change through the spiritual aspect, through spiritual training, religions, or wisdom texts that you read, or just something waking up inside of you. your body is equally as important as your mind, your spirit, your energetic body, your self-expression, all those things. So if this is a new thing for you to pay attention to the body, it might be during this time where we do have some changes going on around us that you could spend some time listening to your body. And there's a couple ways that I've taught to do that and learned to do that myself. One, I just call mindful eating. So that all that means to me is I pay attention before I start putting stuff in my mouth. So, for example, I take a moment, and I just did this right before I started the video today. I ate because I was starving after my yoga practice this morning in the rain, if you saw photos of that. So I stood in my kitchen, I thought about what I had, I thought about what I wanted, and then I mindfully started putting it together. So what that looked like for me today was I wanted lettuce, I wanted pickles, I wanted boiled eggs, which I had to make, so that took me some time so I could really continue to listen to what was next. I wanted salt and pepper, put all of it together. Then the next part of mindful eating to me is taking a moment to appreciate what you have in front of you and enjoy it. It's really simple, but we don't always do it. So mindfully choosing what to eat, ask your body and see if you can give it to it. Mindfully choosing something to drink and noticing yourself enjoying it and appreciating it, and it changes the whole experience of eating. Now, I told you all too in one of these talks that I, for many, many years, did not speak kindly to myself in my head or out loud. So the other thing that I have worked on is really sending love and compassion and gratitude to my body. And I found a great meditation years ago. It's long. It's a Taoist meditation called The Inner Smile. And I got a book on it, and I used to do it for an hour every single day. Now I have a short version because that's what I do. I shorten things and I make them simple. So you could certainly, some of you I know are really into full practice rituals, and I think that is so beautiful. So please do not think that you have to shorten the Inner Smile if you already do the Inner Smile meditation. But the way that I do it for myself is I literally imagine myself smiling at myself, and then I just go through all the parts of my body, and I smile at my organs, I smile at my systems, I smile at my actual outside physical form, my bones, my brain, and I just basically say thank you to my body. And that's pretty much it. So mindfully eating and appreciating your food, asking your body what it wants, maybe taking some moments throughout the day to appreciate, smile at your body, send some love and gratitude to it. And the last thing, which I basically didn't call it this, but this is what I usually call it, mindfully moving your body. Paying attention to how you want to move your body, and then doing it, even if it's in small increments, consistently. And those are ways to start to begin making those new neural pathways coming in from our emotional self and coming in from the physical self. And you all know all the other ones that we talked about the last few days. So thank you all for spending some time with me again. It's been fun to continue this series, and we'll talk about more parts of our Gingerbread Man or Woman over the next couple of days. Much love. I hope you have a mindfully beautiful day. Bye. See you next time.